where he teaches in Bangalore.
So we have started live.
Like
Akash.
Maybe he has problem with it.
yes, I am ready.
Just wait for a while.
Yeah, maybe I will introduce.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Professor Abu Saleh Sarif is we welcome you to our webinar. This is the 7th webinar in the series of Social Justice and NEP 2020. We are very happy to welcome you to our webinar series. Thank you very much for being with us. And let me introduce Professor Abu. Very short. He has a very lengthy, very, like what is it called? It's a very lengthy CV with so many, like adjectives and so many things to include. So I will make it very short so that we can speak more. So he's a SIP scholar and at the US India Institute, Washington DC, and he was a chief economist and at the NCAER, National Council for Applied Economics Research, New Delhi. And he worked as a senior research fellow at the Food Policy Research Institute, and he was also advisor to the committee of he's advisor to the committee.
Such a committee.
That's the Indian Prime Minister during 2004 and 5 with the Satsar Committee and the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and during 2010-11, and he has actually traveled extensively throughout the country and abroad, and he has, as I discussed with him, that he has actually learned so many things from so many places from India mixed up and so he had a very broad perspective of entire country, and he's a demographer and also an economist and econometrist. So we welcome you, sir, and we are sure you will enlighten all of us with your lecture.
Thank you, Indraniji. Thank you very much, Jagmohan Saab and others on the panel. My simple.
Just one. Can I make one request before you begin? I'm just. I think I was told that you can make it bilingual. So is that the case?
वो दोनों करेंगे. So कन्नड़ बेका अथवा हिंदी बेका? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Hindi. Yeah. I can speak in Hindi. I will make it bilingual as much as possible. My flow, I catch up as I go. मेरा introduction ये है कि I am basically a field worker. I started in 1974 my work in a World Bank project where I had to go home to home and collect data. So I became a data collector, and through the data collection, I try to understand firsthand the community and the society, and that is where I learned a lot of sociology. For example, my sociology guru at that time with whom I used to fight, although I was not his student, was M.N. Srinivas. I used to live in a slum next to his Benson Town home. I used to live in Shivajinagar. So the point is, I became a sociologist, a kind of semi-anthropologist, and then a statistician, and then an applied economist. So somehow God gave me those opportunities to be a kind of multidisciplinary in nature. Pardon me, I'm not an expert, but I can speak on many topics. And today, national education policy, I've been involved with NCERT. I had done extensive interaction with NCERT, all my professional work. In fact, I was reading today's Hindu Ram Kumar. I have interacted with him extensively, a very illuminating article in the Hindu Today. आज का जो लेक्चर है वो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी पे है, and the title I have given is dualism. There is a dualism. I will explain what it is. Dualism क्या है मैं बताऊंगा. Leading to education trap for our children in the whole of 21st century. because नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी पिछली 20-25 साल बनाई गई थी, तो अभी एक 2020 में है, अब दूसरी एजुकेशन पॉलिसी हो सकता है 25-30 साल बाद बने। तो उसका मतलब है कि आज की जो पॉलिसी बनी है उसके अंदर हमें एक ट्रैप नजर आ रहा है। तो वो ट्रैप क्या है मैं एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करूंगा, और ये मेरे पर्सनल विचार हैं, इसके अंदर मेरे से भी चूक हो सकती है, मगर हम डिबेट करना बहुत जरूरी समझते हैं इन चीजों को। तो ये एक डिबेटिंग प्लेटफॉर्म है। द मोर वी कम्युनिकेट, द मोर वी डिबेट, द मोर truth will come out. So my introduction today is to create a kind of debate on this topic. Now my first comment on national education policy is, it is not the intent but the content is the issue. Intent सही है, जो सोच, जो विजन, ये बहुत बढ़िया है, बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत eloquently लिखा गया है। उससे अच्छा हम प्रोज लिखना बहुत मुश्किल है, बहुत अच्छा लिखा गया है, इंटेंट अच्छा है। प्रॉब्लम है कंटेंट में। कंटेंट दो तरह का होगा, ये कंटेंट विद इन द डॉक्यूमेंट, सो ए लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आर नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड। लिखा गया है मगर उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन विस्तार से उसको बताया नहीं गया है, उसके अंदर छुपी हुई है चीज। और दूसरा कंटेंट है एजुकेशन कंटेंट इटसेल्फ। एजुकेशन का कंटेंट क्या होगा उसके बारे में भी इस डॉक्यूमेंट में कुछ दिशाएं दी गई हैं। आई थिंक उसको मैं हाईलाइट करूंगा, उसका डिटेल मैं आज नहीं जा पाऊंगा, क्योंकि एक एक इशू है, वो एक एक घंटा बात करने के हैसियत रखता है। तो आज मैं कुछ हाइलाइट्स इसमें मेंशन करूंगा। बैकग्राउंड में मेरे दिमाग में क्या है, हमारे देश में राइट टू चिल्ड्रन टू फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन एक्ट है। ये प्राइमरी लेवल की एजुकेशन विद्या के ऊपर उसका असर पड़ता है डायरेक्टली। एक एक्ट है, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पहले है और उसके बाद हमने राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट भी बनाया। तो आप देखिए एजुकेशन के लिए सिर्फ हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की सपोर्ट ही नहीं है, बल्कि लेजिस्लेटिव पावर्स भी उसको सपोर्ट करते हैं। उसके बावजूद हम यहाँ ये कहना चाहते हैं, एक इंग्लिश में स्टेटमेंट मैंने लिखा है, ये एजुकेशन इज नॉलेज अक्यूमुलेटेड ओवर मिलेनिया। 50,000 साल पहले आग किसने बनाई थी, किस तरह बनाई, व्हील किस तरह बनी। तो ये जो बहुत एंशिएंट विद्या है वो सिर्फ इंडिया में ही नहीं है, पूरी दुनिया में हर जगह से एक्यूमुलेट होके वो हमारे किताबों में, आज हमारे किताबों के पन्ने में वो नॉलेज है। उसका मतलब है जो एजुकेशन एक ऐसा नॉलेज है जिसपे किसी का अधिकार नहीं है और सबका अधिकार है, सब बच्चों का अधिकार है, सब बच्चे पूरी दुनिया में उसको फ्री एजुकेशन का अधिकार है, क्योंकि ये किसी की बाप का कंट्रोल हो नहीं सकता, वो गवर्नमेंट का भी कंट्रोल नहीं हो सकता। एजुकेशन शुड बी फ्री, इट शुड बी गिवन टू एवरी चाइल्ड बॉर्न एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड। तो ये एक मेरा अपना विचार है, एक सब्जेक्टिव ओपिनियन है, मगर इस पे हम डिबेट भी कर सकते हैं। मगर ये एक एजुकेशन जो हमारे इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया में हम देखा गया है, एजुकेशन इज ए पब्लिक सर्विस। हम समझते हैं कि एजुकेशन एक पब्लिक सर्विस है। उसको एक्सेस टू क्वालिटी एजुकेशन मस्ट बी कंसिडर्ड ए बेसिक राइट ऑफ एवरी चाइल्ड। तो ये इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया के बाद जब डेमोक्रेसी में, प्लूरलिस्टिक डेमोक्रेसी में सब लोगों का अधिकार बनता है, तो एजुकेशन एक पब्लिक सर्विस के मातहत लोगों तक पहुंचाई गई। मगर अब वो क्वालिटी एजुकेशन पे हर बच्चे का, वो कोई ट्राइबल बच्चा कहीं डीप फॉरेस्ट में रहता हो, कहीं राजस्थान के आउटस्कर्ट्स में रहता हो, केरला में रहता हो, कश्मीर में रहता हो, असम में रहता है, जहां भी है बच्चा, सबका राइट है। नाउ ये हमने देखा है, जो अभी थोड़ा सा मैं जंप करूंगा क्योंकि मेरे आइडियाज जो हैं थोड़े से स्कीम वाइज मैंने ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं किए हैं। मगर ये एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट मैं करना चाह रहा हूं कि हमारा जो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी बनी है वो कितने बच्चों को, मैंने कहा हर बच्चे को अप्लाई होना चाहिए। पब्लिक सेक्टर, पब्लिक सर्विस जो एजुकेशन पॉलिसी बनी, हर बच्चे को उसका एप्लीकेशन होना है। मगर मैं जब इस रिपोर्ट को पढ़ा तो मुझे लिखता है कि ये इसका एप्लीकेशन यानी इट्स रेलेवेंस, पॉलिसी की रेलेवेंस सिर्फ अबाउट 50% ऑफ आवर स्कूल, कॉलेज एंड यूनिवर्सिटी गोइंग चिल्ड्रन को अप्लाई होगा। आई होप आई एम क्लियर। एनीबडी से आई एम ऑडिबल? एम आई ऑडिबल?
Yes, yes, yes.
या ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण बात मैं कह रहा हूं कि नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी का रेलेवेंस सिर्फ अबाउट 50% बच्चों पर ही होता है। वो क्यों होता है? as I go on, I will try to explain that. एक ये है कि NEP 2020 does not recognize and does not talk about regulating the private school system. Private schools का जो महत्व लास्ट 25 years में बढ़ा है, यहां तक कि मैं जो लास्ट आंकड़े देख रहा था, I was analyzing NSSO data about 3-4 years ago, so I can recollect the biggest jump in private primary level schooling happened in Uttar Pradesh. Private schooling तो southern states में पहले से बनी हुई है, excepting Kerala. केरला में private schooling नहीं है, केरला में tripartite schooling है। केरला में government, सिविल सोसाइटी और पीपल, ये तीनों का एक कोऑपरेटिव मॉडल है केरला का। और हमेशा हमने एजुकेशन को, केरला का मॉडल हम बताते हैं, केरला में एजुकेशन 100% कई जमाने से है और क्वालिटी बहुत अच्छी है। और हम कहते हैं कि एजुकेशन के लिए मॉडल हमारे ही देश में है, केरला कोई फॉरेन कंट्री नहीं है। मगर उसकी कोई बात हमारे नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में नहीं है कि केरला, हाउ कैन केरला अचीव 100% लिटरेसी? हाउ कैन इट रिसीव नॉट ओनली लिटरेसी, हायर लेवल ऑफ एजुकेशन आल्सो? केरला मॉडल, और केरला मॉडल हमारे ऑल इंडिया मॉडल में समहाउ हमारे दिमाग में फिट नहीं होता है। तो प्राइवेट स्कूल जो अभी बहुत ज्यादा तरह मशरूम ग्रोथ हो रहे हैं, उसके बारे में कोई डिस्कशन, कोई टिप्पणी, कोई डेटा, कोई आलोचना हमारे इस NEP में नहीं है। NEP has not even made reference to Article 29 and Article 30 of the Indian Constitution. आप सब लोग इस चीज को जानते हैं कि there is certain protection given under Article 29 and Article 30, granted rights of religious and linguistic minorities in education. इसके बारे में सिर्फ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का रेफरेंस नहीं है, सिर्फ ये एक पैराग्राफ 4 लाइन का लिखा गया है कि इंपॉर्टेंस विल बी गिवन टू माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशन। मगर माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशन जो सो मच डिप्राइव्ड हुआ है, सो मच ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन है, वेरी हाई ड्रॉप आउट रेट्स है, उसके लिए एक स्पेशल पैराग्राफ या स्पेशल पेज या स्पेशल बॉक्स लिखना चाहिए था, क्योंकि ये बेसिक एजुकेशन और इवन हायर लेवल एजुकेशन एक्सेसिबिलिटी माइनॉरिटीज में, पर्टिकुलरली मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी में बहुत ही कम है, क्योंकि वहां डिस्क्रिमिनेशन भी है। वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अलग अलग रूप और अलग अलग आकार लेता है, वो बाद में मैं बताऊंगा, मगर ये मेंशन हमारे डॉक्यूमेंट में बिल्कुल नहीं है। ना मेंशन मदरसा एजुकेशन के बारे में, पिछले पॉलिसी और पिछले कई सालों से मदरसा मॉडर्नाइजेशन वगैरह वगैरह की बात कर रहे हैं। Although I am one of those persons who believe that madrasa is a private education of a Muslim community. You should leave that to them because the constitution guarantees them their education, religious हो या अपनी मातृभाषा जो उर्दू हो उसमें देने का उनको अधिकार है। मगर उसके बारे में कोई नोट्स या कोई टिप्पणी या कोई डिस्कशन इस ग्रुप में नहीं है। तो यहाँ पे जहाँ डाइवर्सिटी और उसकी बात आती है, उसके अंदर इसमें डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ है। नाउ एक चीज बताई गई है कि जो भी पॉलिसी है वो हर तरह के स्कूल्स को एक ब्रॉड जनरलाइज्ड स्टेटमेंट दिया गया है। तो Muslims, if they want to open up what is called in quotes the minority education status schooling, अब ये नए पॉलिसी में मुझे लगता है कि कुछ बदलाव आ सकता है, एंड उसका स्ट्रक्चर क्या होगा, उसका माहौल क्या होगा, क्या स्टेट उसमें इम्पोर्टेंट पोजीशन लेगी या सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के आदेश बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट होंगे, क्योंकि एजुकेशन सिर्फ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के मातहत नहीं है। एजुकेशन एक कंकरेंट लिस्ट में है जिसमें स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का भी बहुत ज्यादा महत्व होता है। और एक्चुअली अगर टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर बजटरी लेंगे तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का सब्सटैंशियल share of state government expenditure goes to education, sometimes 20-25%. State level budgets are earmarked for providing education, whereas the central budget, the total central budget, the allocation for education is only about 4.4% or 4.3%. No, although it should be 4.3% not of budget, of GDP. Whereas the requirement from our earlier debates, requirement and global benchmark is about 6% of GDP, which we are unable to achieve. So अब issue ये है कि ये centralized schemes आते हैं तो और state आते हैं तो उसमें वो confrontation होता है, dualism, वो उसके बारे में अभी मैं नीचे उसके बारे में मैं comment करूँगा. Now a few more exclusions जो इस document में discuss नहीं हुआ है. Discussion missing. Number 1, education that promotes and integrate globalization. उसके बारे में एक word भी नहीं है. आप देखिए, education is the one which globalize labor force, which globalize trade. Education ही एक माध्यम है जिससे हमको ग्लोबलाइजेशन, ग्लोबल इंटीग्रेशन को प्रोत्साहन देता है, फैसिलिटेट करता है. उसके बारे में इस पॉलिसी में कोई डिस्कशन बिल्कुल नहीं है. प्राइवेट सेक्टर एजुकेशन मैं पहले बोल चुका हूं, उसके बारे में भी डिस्कशन नहीं है. इंग्लिश एज ए लैंग्वेज एंड मीडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन, कोई बात नहीं है. इंग्लिश एज ए लैंग्वेज. कॉस्ट ऑफ एजुकेशन की बात नहीं हुई है. और हायर एजुकेशन में कोटा सिस्टम्स आते हैं, और कोटा सिस्टम इस तरह से बनाया गया है हमारे देश में कि कई कम्युनिटीज एक्सक्लूड हो जाते हैं, उनको कुछ कहीं भी एडमिशन नहीं मिलता. पर्टिकुलरली माइनॉरिटीज आर एट दैट रिस्क. इसके बारे में कोई बात डिस्कशन नहीं हुई. और अभी फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटीज को आने के लिए, और ये बहुत बड़ा मिस्टेक ये हुआ है कि the language of communication between me as a Indian citizen and my government, what is the language which I use? I use English. उसके बारे में कोई डिस्कशन ही नहीं हुआ. एजुकेशन और official communication between a government, and I know Hindi is around. I know state languages are around. But we also know that English is the dominant communicator between the government and the people. उसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं हुई है. So there are a lot of exclusions. So जब वो exclude हो जाते हैं तो उसका जो फ्यूचर में जो इंटरप्रिटेशन होता है, वो जो स्टेटेड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं उससे बहुत जुदा होते हैं. तो इसीलिए ये इस डॉक्यूमेंट में वो सब चीजें को वापस लाना चाहिए. आई होप देयर इज ए स्कोप टू डू दैट. और आप लोग जो इसके पीछे जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, तो आप इसके ऊपर गौर करें. अब मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि एनईपी कंटिन्यूज टू इग्नोर एंड इवन परपेचुएट्स ड्यूअलिज्म, which is like setting a trap for the rest of the century. This is my statement. नाउ ये डुअलिज्म क्या है? Forms of dualism. Indian education system is affected by unique dualism or divisions. Number one, urban-rural. Number two, male-female. Number three, public and private. Number four, local and global. Number five, vernacular and English. Number six, domestic and foreign. Number seven, professional education versus regular. And then we have this nationally controlled education versus other education, which is imparted by the state. You just see the dualism. Now, ये dualism, अभी जो है, मैंने यहाँ मेरे notes में, मैं in dualism में, I have highlighted the preferred, what generally communities का एक preference क्या है. Generally urban education like करते हैं क्योंकि rural education is not as good. दूसरा, males are preferred to be educated even by families. People want to study in private because public education is not good. People want to get integrated global, so they don't want to study local, they want to study global. People want to study in English. People want to, domestic and foreign, कंप्यूटराइजेशन का जमाना है, रिसर्च का जमाना है, साइंस के बहुत बड़े आविष्कारों का, डिस्कवरीज का, इन्वेंशंस का जमाना है, सब इंग्लिश में मिलती है. देन प्रोफेशनल वर्सेस रेगुलर एंड देन नेशनल वर्सेस स्टेट. सो प्रिफर्ड जो है, जो हमारी लिंक है अर्बन, मेल, प्राइवेट, ग्लोबल, इंग्लिश, फॉरेन, प्रोफेशनल एंड नेशनल, वो लिंक के बारे में, वो एसोसिएशन के बारे में कोई डिस्कशन नहीं है हमारे नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी. तो ये नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी लिखी किसके लिए? मुझे समझ में नहीं आता. आई डोंट नो फॉर whom you have written this. Why is that document being given to us where I don't find anything which I can carry home to my children? But there are a certain very important amendments to the previous policy. Number one, which I like most, in fact, even during the Sachar committee, one of the most important contribution to our education should come from early childhood care and education, just so-called Anganwadi centers. तो हमने यहाँ तक देखा कि आंगनवाड़ी सेंटर्स यूनिवर्सलाइज हो गए हैं, गवर्नमेंट डेटा देती है. मैंने जब एनसीआर में था तो I did, this was before the turn of this century, 2 evaluation studies of ICDS in the whole country, evaluation of the whole country. We did a national survey. We went to every state and we did a survey of Anganwadis and tried to find out what is happening. And then what we found out, it was not universal at all. And I can take a bet, even now government claims it is universally provided. I'm sorry, I don't find Anganwadi centers in Muslim mohallas. I don't find the local Muslim women to be Anganwadi workers. I have found out Muslim mohalla में 1-2 जगह कहाँ पे Anganwadi center थी, वहाँ पे एक ब्राह्मण महिला बाहर से as an Anganwadi center comes. And mind you, she was teaching very good. I'm not against the Brahmin mahila. I'm against what is the stated policy, what do you implement. Now, इसके अंदर आंगनवाड़ी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्वालिटी की बात की गई है. It is a very good thing. I appreciate government if does it, but government doesn't tell how much money is required, where do you get the money from, and what is the time during which you will do. ये सब कुछ नहीं लिखा गया है. ये सिर्फ स्टेटमेंट है, विशफुल थिंकिंग है. बोल दिया, लिख दिया, रिपोर्ट बाहर भेज दिया. अरे पैसे कहाँ आएंगे, कितने साल में करेंगे, क्वालिटी कैसे इंप्रूव. उन्होंने कहा जैसा स्कूल बनाए हैं वैसा आंगनबाड़ी की एक हम फुल बिल्डिंग बनाएंगे, उसके अंदर वो पानी की सुविधा करेंगे, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी देंगे वगैरह वगैरह. और उन्होंने एक और चीज बताई है जिसमें एक छोटा सा डेंजर है. उन्होंने कहा आंगनबाड़ी हम ऐसा करेंगे कि आंगनबाड़ी और स्कूल कॉम्प्लेक्स, उसका मतलब ये है कि आंगनबाड़ी के बाद प्राइमरी आएगी, उसके बाद मिडिल, उसके बाद हाई स्कूल, उसके बाद जो है कॉम्प्लेक्स क्लस्टर बनाएंगे, उसके अंदर इंटीग्रेट करेंगे. ये लेटर, ये जो स्कूल कॉम्प्लेक्स जो क्लस्टर का आइडिया दिया है वो लगता तो अच्छा है, मगर by if you do school clustering, डिस्टेंस जो हमारा इशू है, द मेजर प्रॉब्लम वी हैव सॉल्व्ड इन दिस कंट्री इज टू रिड्यूस द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन a child's home and the school. That is what we have tried to do. We try to reduce the distance. मगर आप क्लस्टर कॉम्प्लेक्सेस बनाएंगे तो आपके वो डिस्टेंस फिर बढ़ जाएंगे. उसको कैसे सॉल्व करेंगे? Maybe we have better roads, maybe you will give more motor buses वगैरह वगैरह. There may be an answer for that, but will we do it? If we don't do that, that school complex and cluster concept will exclude thousands of children, at least in the rural areas. और दूसरी बात ये है कि there is a strong centralization का dimension है. Let me pick that up as a special issue as I go below. But there is no mention of early education and linkages with the mother tongue. There is no mention of early education and local and state language. There is no education mention of the so-called 3-language formula, which is a kind of, possible. It is possible to achieve at the younger ages. Children can study 3 languages. It is possible to do that. तो उसके बारे में कोई डिस्कशन बिल्कुल नहीं है. तो यहाँ पे मुझे थोड़ा सा ये होता है कि हिंदी as a language, I love Hindi. I myself have studied Hindi and Sanskrit. I have no problem with, but there could be a possibility of Hindi being imposed even through the early education system. And secondly, a vision statement may there is a lot of statement about how we should promote our Indian ethos वगैरह वगैरह. I love my Indian ethos, but आप जो डॉक्यूमेंट में इंडियन ethos बता रहे हैं वो मुझे कुछ अलग अलग से लग रहे हैं, गड़बड़ से लग रहे हैं. अब वो ethos आप अर्ली एजुकेशन सिस्टम के अंदर ही घुसा पाए तो इसके अंदर डाइवर्सिटी को बहुत बड़ा धक्का होगा, आइडेंटिटीज को बहुत बड़ा धक्का होगा, मदर टंग्स को बहुत बड़ा धक्का होगा. So there is a underlying danger in that. So that is one thing I want to put on record. As I understand, there is that danger underneath. स्कूल लेवल की बात हो रही तो आप बता रहे हैं कि टीचर्स को जो पुराने जमाने में, my father himself was a primary school teacher. I know how much his students used to revere him, utilize him, obeisance होते थे. They want to bring it back today. आज के जमाने में कंप्यूटराइज ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन के जमाने में वन टू वन फेस क्लासरूम्स तो खत्म होने वाले हैं. क्लासरूम तो हवा हो जाएंगे. 10 साल के अंदर कोई क्लासरूम बाकी नहीं रहेगा. एवरीथिंग विल गो टू होम. तो अब इस तरह के माहौल में अब टीचर्स को भगवान की तरह, उनको गुरु की तरह अब आप उस सेंचुरी में ये ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या हम अचीव कर सकते हैं? आई डोंट नो. डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात हो रही है, दीक्षा की बात हो रही है, नेशनल बुक प्रमोशन पॉलिसी हो रही है. आजकल आपका इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में देखा, एक किताब लेके निकाला मगर इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इसके अंदर पड़ा हुआ है, मेरा कुरान इसके अंदर पड़ा हुआ है, भगवत गीता इसके अंदर पड़ा हुआ है. अब बुक ट्रस्ट की बात हो रही है. वी हैव टू थिंक डिफरेंटली. दैट इज माय नोशन. Some people may not like me telling it, but it is not me telling it. It is going to happen that way. So in our policy, if you make that emphasis, it is just wasting a couple of lines there. Now, the second most important thing which I liked after early childhood education is curtailing dropout rates. उसके लिए credibility of schools को बढ़ाने की बात हो रही है. जब ये बात हो रही है credibility of government स्कूल की बात हो रही है, जहां पे ओनली अबाउट 50% ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन गो. अदर 50% की क्रेडिबिलिटी तो ऑलरेडी पैसों के मातहत से डिसाइड हो चुकी है. आप डीपीएस जाइए, 5-6 लाख रुपए दीजिए. आप नेबरहुड ऑक्सफोर्ड स्कूल में जाइए, वहां पे 2-3 लाख रुपए दे दिए और उनके लिए कोई क्वालिटी कंट्रोल नहीं है, क्रेडिबिलिटी नहीं है. There is no assessment now. ये आप फॉरेन कंट्री में जाइए, आप एक स्टार्स देते हैं, स्टार 1 2 3 4। हमारे कॉलेज स्कूलों को कोई स्टार्स नहीं है, मगर गवर्नमेंट की क्रेडिबिलिटी बढ़ाना चाहते हैं, विच इज ए गुड थिंग, बिकॉज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग विच इज एक्सक्लूजनरी इज द लो क्वालिटी ऑफ स्कूल। गवर्नमेंट स्कूल की क्वालिटी बढ़ेगी तो बहुत लोग, जो गरीब लोग हैं, उनके लिए बहुत ही बेहतरी होगी। और उसमें काउंसलर और वेल ट्रेंड सोशल वर्कर्स को कॉलेज और स्कूल्स में लाने की बात हो रही है। ये एक नई चीज है, इसकी क्या जरूरत है मुझे मालूम नहीं है, मगर क्या ये प्रोग्राम सक्सेस होगा? सोशल वर्कर्स तो हमारे डिप्टी कलेक्टर और तहसीलदार वगैरह जो हैं, ब्लॉक डेवलपमेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं, उनके द्वारा हमारे पास सोशल वर्कर स्कीम चल रहे थे पुराने जमाने में। उसका कोई हमने इवैल्यूएशन नहीं किया है कि अब स्कूल सिस्टम में सोशल वर्कर स्कूल आएंगे तो क्या वो सक्सेस होगा या नहीं, उसके बारे में चर्चा नहीं है। ओपिनियन ओपन एंड डिस्टेंस लर्निंग की बात हुई है। ये ओपन और डिस्टेंस लर्निंग एंड ऑनलाइन लर्निंग, ये दोनों का जो मिश्रण होगा, जो दोनों का कोऑपरेटिव होगा, ये हमारा फ्यूचर एजुकेशन है। पहले हम ओपन स्कूल्स में कोई डिग्री करता था तो हम पूछते थे ये कैसी डिग्री लाए, कॉलेज नहीं गया, घर में बैठ के पढ़ा, इसके पास एजुकेशन नहीं है, डिग्री फेक है, ये हमारा बोलने का तरीका होता था। मगर अब ये बदल जाएगा। अब जो स्कूल कॉलेज जाके पढ़ेगा उसको बोलेंगे फेक डिग्री लाया। जो घर में बैठ के ऑनलाइन पे जो ऑनलाइन सिस्टम डेवलप हो रहे हैं, और आप ये मानिए कि सिर्फ ऑनलाइन में सिर्फ इंडिया में दी गई एजुकेशन नहीं, अमेरिका में दी गई एजुकेशन मेरे घर में, आई कैन सिट हियर, आई एम एन इंडियन, आई सिट हियर, आई टेक ऑनलाइन कोर्सेस फ्रॉम लेट अस से टीजे हाई स्कूल, टीजे वो होने वाला है आगे कि देखो भी मैंने तो आपका वो कोर्स कर दिया, मेरा एग्जाम करके मुझे सर्टिफिकेट दो, वो टीजे यहाँ सर्टिफिकेट दे दे। तो अगर ये सिस्टम आ गया तो हमारा पूरा स्कूल सिस्टम, गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम पूरा जो हवा हो जाएगा, इट विल गो, इट विल बूम। तो अगर हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बचाना चाहते हैं तो आपका कंपटीशन जो हो रहा है उसकी क्वालिटी हमको यहाँ देनी पड़ेगी, और उसका हमेशा दिमाग में रखना पड़ेगा। अरे भाई हमारे बच्चों को ये क्वालिटी नहीं देगा तो वो दूसरी लेगा। एंड माइंड यू, ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन विल बी वेरी चीप। सो ये चीजों का जो विजन है फ्यूचर का, 21st सेंचुरी का, ये आई एम सॉरी टू से विद फोल्डेड हैंड इस एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में बिल्कुल नहीं। फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ऑफ चॉइसेस की बात हुई, बाइलिंगुअल टीचर लर्निंग की बात कैजुअली उन्होंने कर दिया है, मगर ये सिर्फ बाइलिंगुअल किया है। मैं आई थॉट दैट इट शुड हैव बीन ट्राइलिंगुअल टीचिंग। नाउ स्कूल का रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग कर रहे हैं, 5+3+3+4, ये पेडागोगिक इश्यू है। देयर आर लॉट ऑफ स्टालवर्ट्स हु वर्क ऑन पेडागोगी, so I do not have much comments on this. I myself, my 4-year की schooling पढ़ा, the moment primary schooling, the moment I passed out, then 3-year schooling हो गई थी वो। तो इस तरह के changes पहले भी हुए हैं। अब 5+3+3+4 system है। I am not an expert on this, but maybe it is good, but we need to do controlled experiments on children to change the system, pedagogic system. उस तरह का रिसर्च मैंने देखा नहीं है। I hope government does that before changing the structure. Now language formula, जो 3 language formula था, up on the fire and smoke, उसके बारे में बिल्कुल डिस्कशन नहीं है। and there is a underlying danger for local languages, particularly for Urdu and for South Indian languages. I feel इसके लिए हमको लड़ना चाहिए। We have to fight with the central government to ensure that a proper mention is made about those languages. Now, in addition, it says casually, in addition to highly qualified offering in Indian languages, some other languages like Japanese, Korean, French, Thai, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, इस तरह का उन्होंने एक स्टेटमेंट दिया है. It is just a mention of a few languages. I don't know why Thai language will be taught. Portuguese, I don't know to whom. Russian, I understand. Spanish, I understand. But there are many other languages, classical languages हैं, जिसका हमारे देश से बहुत बड़ा संबंध रहा है, वो है पर्शियन लैंग्वेजेस है. आई थिंक पर्शियन इज मेंशन्ड समवेयर. और हमारी खुद की लैंग्वेज जो उर्दू है उसके बारे में तो कुछ इसमें मेंशन नहीं किया गया. एंड माइंड यू, उर्दू इज नॉट हिंदी. आई विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट दैट कंपैरिजन कि हिंदी और उर्दू एक है, आपकी लिपि लिखने का तरीका बदल गया, लैंग्वेज तो सेम है. आई एम सॉरी, आई डोंट agree with that statement. Now courses on Indian knowledge system बताया गया है ट्राइबल कल्चर को प्रमोट करने के लिए. ये एक तरह का कैजुअल और टॉटोलॉजिकल और नॉस्ट्रॉलजिक वे से मेंशन किया गया है कि अरे भाई ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी का कल्चर को हमको प्रोटेक्ट करना है और उनकी लैंग्वेज, उनके डायलेक्ट प्रोटेक्ट करने हैं. एक कैजुअल तरह से बताया गया है, कोई ठोस पॉलिसी स्टेटमेंट मैंने उसमें देखा नहीं है. मगर आई फेल्ट इट आई शुड मेंशन दैट टू यू इन दैट. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टुवर्ड्स माय कंक्लूजन. तो यहाँ सोशो इकोनॉमिकली डिसएडवांटेज ग्रुप्स की बात हुई है और उसमें पैरा 6.2.4 में minorities are also relatively underrepresented in school and higher education. Do you know which minorities? Sikhs, are they underrepresented? Jains, are they underrepresented? Zoroastrians, are they underrepresented? Christians, are they underrepresented? They are the one who give education to our children. Which is the minority which is underrepresented? Only Muslim, and you don't mention that in this report. You know it. सचर कमिटी हमने बनाई, सचर कमिटी में इस चीज का इज़हार किया. तो आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है एज ए न्यू गवर्नमेंट? यू शुड नो, you are trying to solve the problems which our nation faces. So what kind of ideology are you developing? So you do only Muslim community. You tell me which minority is underrepresented in our country. Tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All minority communities are above average excepting the Muslim. Hindus are just above average line. Now this is the report which I submitted to and it was off. Then they asked me to do this analysis. I used the census data. I proved that when we are talking of minorities, the underrepresentation, poverty may ho, it is all only the Muslim community. So this is or do not discuss on the other hand, the Muslims are being presented as demons, bata diya hai. So discrimination is not the express intent, but discrimination will be found in the implementation system. Now there is a chapter on making it happen. तो इस पॉलिसी को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए स्ट्रक्चर क्या चाहिए? एंड strengthening the Central Advisory Board of Education. Now again, there are both positives and negatives in this. Centralization of education is almost impossible anywhere in the world. You cannot centralize education. तो पूरी दुनिया में एक ही हैं, तो उसको सेंट्रलाइज कर सकते हैं, मगर जो डिटेल्स हैं एजुकेशन के, वो डिटेल्स बाय एंड लार्ज लोकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उसका डिस्कशन होना है. जैसा कि अब एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्च के बारे में हो, या आपका लोकल बिजनेसेस के बारे में हो, या लोकल सोशल वेलफेयर के बारे में हो, So all the education and the knowledge has to be extracted from the local area. तो अब उसको एक centralized system में लाएं, तो ये मुझे लगता है कि constitutionally, constitution doesn't specify what should be the central, which area should be the central's control over education. It doesn't say, but it is a negotiation between the state and the national government. So I hope the Central Advisory Board does promote more decentralized education. Let there be a centralized advisory board, but it should promote decentralization of education. Now, digital infrastructure वगैरह create करने की casually बात की गई है. I would have expected a full chapter on future digitized and online education system in India, and also particularly higher education. वो higher education को डिस्टॉर्ट करता है कोटा सिस्टम. जो कोटा सिस्टम आपका इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट में एडमिशन चाहिए, एम्स में एडमिशन चाहिए, आपके नीट एग्जाम्स हैं, आपका वो है, अब उसमें सब कोटा सिस्टम भर दिया गया है. तो दिस कोटा सिस्टम somehow is excluding a lot of deserving people from specified communities. And I wish the panel today take up some of these issues which I have highlighted, and I think we should engage the government to maybe revise it or bring a supplementary document and whatever it is. So with this, I would say thank you very much for providing me this opportunity, and I am ready to take questions and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Professor Sharif. Really, really a very, 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 very powerful presentation. बल्कि कमाल की बात ये है that although you said that their intent may be fine, but the examples that you gave, I think like a good public personality, you although said that the intent may be fine, but you proved it the other way around. That's very, very interesting. Actually, your examples really prove. And I want to tell you that, this is the 7th webinar in this series. Before that, we had, I think, 3 on the World Bank STARS project. And I don't know, maybe almost 10 or so on the NEP critical appraisal. So we have almost completed now more than 20 discussions on this whole issue. And what you have said is also emerging in all those webinars. And oh God, I think there's some other mic. I think you'll have to switch it off. You'll have to unmute somebody.
No, Islam Saab has to wait by the time Vikas completes his talk. Vikas is speaking. Islam Saab, can you mute for a while, please?
I put it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
can you repeat what you said? I was not.
Okay.
Vikas, go on, Vikas.
Okay. I've been asked by the coordinator to initiate the discussion, and then to invite Professor Hargopal, and then to leave it open for other people to come in. So
thank you.
Okay, so that's the order. So I was just saying that really it's a very powerful presentation. The speaker began with very modestly saying that we don't know the intent, or it may be fine, but with very, very objectively, he proved the other way around, and in fact, he went very close to almost saying what is the intention, which of course other speakers said you didn't, but you really took us, to that threshold point. So thanks a lot for that. And I have some points, but I want to make one observation. Since you have worked with such a committee, Justice Sachcha had a long association with All India Forum for Right to Education.
Yes,
he was almost our patron.
Yes.
And whenever in Delhi we had any necessity, we not only used his name, but he phone called people, got us all the bookings, and he came to address many of our rallies as well. So,
Yes.
and in that report, which all of you prepared, there's a very interesting formulation, which we also quoted in our tribute to Justice Sachin, that there should be a diversity index to be maintained by all public institutions, and the funding
Yeah,
of the
right.
institutions should be linked to the higher score in that
Yes.
diversity index. And we have been
Yes.
making use of that
Yes.
formulation everywhere. We really owe that to you people, and nothing of that kind is
That
readable
is
anywhere in
part
this
of it.
policy on,
Yeah.
and it just says the other way round. So now, with that starting observation, I wanted to flag a couple of things, and then I'll pass it on to Professor Hargopal and others, and you can note down. um, I think perhaps in a passing manner, but you said कि वो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स को इम्प्रूव करो, वो अच्छी बात है, ये एक अच्छा वो है. तो आई वाज गेटिंग अ बिट कंफ्यूज्ड, क्योंकि आपने कहा ना कि आरटी एक्ट आपका बेस है जिसके आधार पे आप इसे एनालाइज कर रहे हैं. तो उसके वेंटेज पॉइंट से देखें, फिर आपने खुद ही स्कूल कॉम्प्लेक्सेस का जिक्र किया, तो वो तो उनके नॉर्म्स को डिस्टॉर्ट कर रहा है. तो एक तो ये मैं आई एम रियली फ्लैगिंग कि शुड वी नॉट थिंक अबाउट इट, एंड आई मीन इन द वेज इन विच इट इज डिस्टॉर्टिंग द नॉर्म्स प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन द आरटी एक्ट. हम लोग तो आरटी एक्ट को बहुत क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं, एएफआरटी इज वेरी क्रिटिकल ऑफ द आरटी एक्ट, लेकिन ये तो आई मीन वी नीड टू नाउ थिंक कि ये किस तरह से उसको भी मतलब वीकन कर रहा है. एक तो ये. दूसरा, ये जो आपने कोटा सिस्टम वाली बात लास्ट में कही, I think this really requires some more discussion. I would really request you कि जब आप रिस्पॉन्ड करें तो उस पर थोड़ा एलेबोरेट करें कि कोटा से अगर आपका मतलब ये है कि रिजर्वेशन का जो पॉलिसी है उसके जरिए कई सारे मतलब डिजर्विंग लोग इस हायर एजुकेशन से वंचित हो जाते हैं, अगर आपका ये मतलब है, तो फिर तो आई थिंक वी वुड लाइक टू really talk about it. Perhaps we will not agree, I mean, to be fair. But अगर आपका कुछ और मतलब है तो फिर एक अलग बात है. तो आप थोड़ा इसको जरूर एक खुलासा कीजिए. और एक आखिरी बात मैं अपनी तरफ से जो और रेज करना चाह रहा हूँ वो ये है कि ये जो पॉलिसी है इसमें तो सेंट्रलाइजेशन के मतलब बहुत बहुत सारे सिस्टम्स ऑलरेडी प्रपोज कर दिए गए हैं. स्कूल एजुकेशन पे परख, हायर एजुकेशन में एनटीए सिंगल एंट्रेंस टेस्ट, और मतलब एनसीईआरटी के द्वारा प्री प्राइमरी एजुकेशन का करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क, और बहुत सारे मैकेनिज्म इसमें पेश कर दिए हैं. तो अगर ये मान लिए जाते हैं तो फिर केब को स्ट्रेंथन करके भी आप कैसे उसका डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन करेंगे, जरा इस पे अगर हम थोड़ा सा सोचें तो आई थिंक इट विल रियली हेल्प. आई मीन विद दिस थ्री I really pass it on to Professor Hargopal in case he wants to add something or say something.
Yeah. Thank you, Vikas. Am I audible?
Yeah, perfectly audible.
Am I spelling your name correctly? Abu Saleh, sir? Abu Saleh?
Abu Saleh.
Yeah.
Abu Saleh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saleh. I think as Vikas said, that you brought your very rich experience into the debate because of your exposure to the World Bank, to NCERT, to the field work, and your multidisciplinary approach. So that makes this entire presentation very interesting. But the points that need very intense, in-depth debate are certain questions which AFRT is very deeply concerned. First thing is that, as Vikas said, आप जो कहे हैं कि इंटेंट ठीक है पर कंटेंट का सवाल है. बट आई थिंक गिवन द प्रेजेंट डिस्पोजिशन ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट व्हिच इज इन पावर and the ideology that guides this government, This government is not guided by the constitution, but it's guided by various other forces. I hope you understand. When they brought this new education policy, why we have to doubt their intent is, first, they have not put it for national debate. They have not invited the political parties. They have not given it to they've taken it to the parliament and parliamentary subcommittees. State governments are not involved in the debate at all, although it's in the concurrent list. And state assemblies ought to have debated this whole thing. If you remember, sir, 1985 policy was debated for 2.5 years. I must have addressed, I don't know how many seminars on 98 education policy. It came into effect in 1992. There was so much of gap and so much of debate. In fact, Government of India itself encouraged the debate and financed, funded lots of seminars in the country to debate on the 1985 policy. But if you now look at this policy, no debate, no seminars, no university involvement, no state government's involvement, no public representatives' involvement. There, you may have to doubt their intent, why they want to push through this policy so fast. And where is the hurry? After all, we waited for after the new education policy, 1985 policy, we have waited. Nation could have waited. They are anyway in the power for another 3-4 years. They could have had a debate, got the inputs, and formulated the policy, particularly a policy which is going to be there for next 2 to 3 decades. So there, I think there is a lot of possibility of doubting the intent of the present policy maker in pushing through a policy in such a way that it was not preceded by a democratic debate. I think this is first question. आप जब शुरू करें कि आप बोले इंटेंट ठीक है, हमारे को थोड़ा डिस्कम्फर्ट लगा कि आप इंटेंट ठीक है बोल रहे, तो अब once intention is good, policy should reflect that intention. As Vikas said, आप जो प्रेजेंटेशन करें, अब इंटेंट और कंटेंट में काफी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है, और कंटेंट आप जो एक्सप्लेन करें उसका जो इंटेंशन है, whether that intention is a correct intention or not, I think this is one point which is extremely debatable as far as your presentation is concerned. And second सवाल जो है centralization का, although you said the Central Advisory Committee, but if you look at the document, the 4 agencies under the National Higher Education Commission, first their suggestion was it will be headed by Prime Minister himself. And the entire higher education, the exams will be conducted at the center. Admissions will be controlled by the center. Curriculum will be formulated completely by NCERT. Now imagine for a Nagaland or for a Kashmir or a Kerala, how can NCERT, with which you are associated, you think that it has the capabilities of grasping the complexities of Indian society to formulate a curriculum for the whole nation? Nation of this size, nation of this magnitude, nation of this diversity. I think, I don't think there is any one single agency. I had a brief experience in my state, Telangana. I was heading a committee of the State Service Commission to formulate a curriculum after Telangana state was formed with 31 members. When we formulated the curriculum, it became so controversial. So many communities started blaming that our leader is not there, our icon is not there, our culture is not there within Telangana. And I come and I have been brought up, and the 31 members were from different, backgrounds. But in spite of all the effort, our curriculum has become very controversial. A small state like Telangana, imagine a central government or the central agencies formulating the whole curriculum. If the sawal jo hai is not question of advice, the entire curriculum will be prepared and the entire education will be governed from the center. Given your rich experience, do you think it is possible for a nation of this, complexity, that some agency at the national level will be able to formulate any, educational curriculum? I think, sir, we have very serious doubts, and we have also objection. It's not only doubts, but we have serious objection that central government completely taking over the power, which are on a subject which is listed in the concurrent list. and the involvement of state government, which you mentioned very rightly, involvement of state governments, how are they going to involve them in the implementation when they were not a part of the policy formulation, when you have not taken the inputs at all? And already government of Telangana has been directed by the central government to go ahead, and all our principals of the junior colleges, degree colleges, they are all, finding it completely confused. Now they are saying that, sir, how to, they had a seminar, I addressed them. They were asking this question, how are we going to implement this? We don't have any clarity. So, I mean, where is the hurry? Just, directions are coming already, sir. There is not even, they have not even asked the state government, for how they are going to implement or what will be the problems. Just they are pushing the program. And already University of Hyderabad, where I worked for 25 years, already got, and Vice Chancellor yesterday issued a circular that we are going to implement the national education policy. How are they going to implement? I mean, I think this, I think, is a very serious question. A third question is about globalization. The globalization problem is that on the one hand, the present government talks of Atmanirbharta, self-sufficiency, that, this and all that. And given your experience, which foreign university will be willing to come without profit making? Given the present, neoliberalism, everybody, they are also having crisis in their own respective countries, and they would like to find new markets, and they would be coming to India not to help India, not to produce the manpower needed by India, but they will come for the making the profit, because there is 1% of the population with a huge incomes, almost comparable incomes with that of American rich in India, because 1% of the Indians have 56% of national income. Therefore, they are very rich. So they are already sending their children abroad, so they will send them their children. But whether foreign universities will come to India to look after minorities with which you are so deeply concerned, whether they will really help the Dalits and Adivasis, whether they will have any concern for the marginalized sections of the society, I think this is one question that perhaps, which has to be very seriously debated before we think of foreign universities. I think because they will dictate the terms. I don't think government of India will have enough of power to give the mandate and all that. They will dictate as the global capital is dictating the policies today. I think I'm afraid that the foreign universities will completely, dictate, and the government of India has to just at the behest, work at the behest of the foreign universities. I think this is one question which I would like you to reflect. Then online education also we have a problem, sir. Although you seem to be subscribing to that online education will be cheap and all that is agreed. I mean, given the technological advancements and all that. But already the experience we have had during the last 3-4 months with online education, in my own state, Council for Higher Education says that only 20% of the Telangana people have access to internet and smartphone. And Indian Statistical Institute in its latest survey said that in the rural India, 16% of the people have access to the internet. I mean, this is their finding. And in Bombay, the People's Union for Civil Liberties conducted a survey during the COVID period. In slums, they say only less than 1% of the people have access to the internet. This technologically divided, highly divided society. And we are still not technologically self-sufficient nor integrated. We have not integrated the society through technology. We have in fact divided the society through technology. So online education will be very premature without the technology spreading and penetrating the rural area, slums, and the poorer sections and all that. Otherwise, the present divide, which is already divided the people, as you very rightly say, you talked of dualism. Among the dualisms that you talked about, I think technological divide or the digital divide is going to be one more dualistic thing, but this is going to be much sharper, and one section of the society will be completely denied. And I have 2 granddaughters, one is 6+, other is 5+, and I see the online classes, and the children are so unhappy, so uncomfortable with online education. My elder granddaughter, if the teacher says good morning, she says good night. So she doesn't want that class. My younger granddaughter goes to the Google and says how to escape online classes. I mean, I'm talking to the experience of my own two granddaughters who are fairly, well informed, very articulate, but they are not happy. The minute mother talks of the class, they become very unhappy. So this classroom, collective learning, teacher to teacher, eye to eye connection, I think any substitute has to be a supplement, but it can't be a substitute. You can supplement at the most, provided technology further penetrates. But we can't today think about the online education when society is already economically, politically, and religiously so divided. We will perhaps accentuate the division in the society. That is one debate which AFRP is very seriously carrying, and whichever groups I have addressed so far, they are not very enthusiastic online education because they are worried about the marginalized sections of the society. I think this is another question that perhaps about the social workers. You are not seeing the intent. These social workers are not the workers that you mentioned. Those social workers are somewhere else. So this is a way to bring all of them into indoctrination of the young children, right? And see that their worldview is shaped by them. So the intent is very clear. I mean, when they say philanthropy run schools, or when they talk of social workers, when they talk of the these sections, I think they have a design. This is our fear. I hope we are wrong, but I'm afraid we are right. So I think these are some of the questions which require a very in-depth analysis, sir. Before we say anything about new education policy, we have to tell the present policy maker very frankly, the questions. And one question I liked, which in fact in a way missing in our webinars, is your concern for the minorities. I think, the minorities in this country are so marginalized. Today, they live under fear. And this government, as you said, Article 29, 30, they have no respect for those articles. And I am afraid that what will happen to the minority education, how the question of minorities will be addressed. I think this is one question I think we have to very seriously debate. And aapka jo concerns hai, we fully share your concerns. AFRP shares your concern as far as the minority question is concerned. And I think you have so powerfully presented at different points of time how minorities are completely marginalized. I think I will stop here, sir. There may be questions on the language and questions, but all right, these are questions which can wait. But some of our concerns we have shared with you very frankly, so that the debate can go in the right direction and nation will have a policy which will be people-centric, socially sensitive, and egalitarian, participative, and will bring social harmony in the society. These are the concerns of AFRP. So we want an education policy which is democratic, egalitarian, very participative, socially harmonious. I think that is the vision that AFRP has as far as the education policy is concerned. I stop and I thank organizers. It was a very short notice, but still, I think your lecture was so good, so provocative that I am sure that we try to make some points. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikas. I just want, can you please invite Dr. Islam Siddiqui to pose a few questions, and then
Yeah. Of course. He's
then you stop for some of my intervention, and then again open it up.
Okay.
Because there are far too many issues, so we will organize in such a way that I could give some.
Of course. Yeah. So let him speak.
Islam Siddiqui.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Islam Siddiqui from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Professor Abu Saleh Sharif. It was a fantastic presentation in a very short time, essentially summarizing your findings and views. I enjoyed it. I think I have only a couple of comments. One is, I think you said it appropriately, why this new policy after 30 years, there was an older policy, now there's a new policy, which is good if the intent is to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
If the intent is to improve the education system, which definitely needs improvement, but improvement also requires that you start addressing the weak links in the system. There are some very strong areas where India is recognized all over the world, especially IITs, many of the universities in India. But guess what? The primary education system, especially education system, which is lacking in minority, especially Muslim minority areas, Adivasis and other tribal areas. I think we need to strengthen those weak links so that we can actually have a stronger educational system, which is 21st century education system. I think you're appropriately mentioning this Chagla. I still remember I was in America, but I followed the news when Chagla Commission, when he was education minister, there are a lot of resentment and opposition in the South about Hindi, imposing Hindi. So this three language system came into being. There's no mention of it. And I think there's a lot of concern when I talk to my Christian Indians who are living in America. They're very much concerned about what will happen in the South if the intent is to impose Hindi as a language and weaken the language formula which was developed, which to me is like a consensus statement to keep India united and build it from there. So I think those are the concerns I have. I'm mostly focused because of my engagement with the American Muslim institution, where a lot of the minorities, including Hindus, especially from South, and Christians and Sikhs and all this. What is this system, especially having social workers and other volunteers coming to these campuses, quote unquote, are they needed, or if this is an attempt to saphronize the education system by inserting thousands and thousands of these social workers and volunteers. So I think those are, if there can be a debate all over India on this, open debate in terms of how do we improve the system, and some of the either fears or apprehensions can be addressed so that people all come together and support. Only thing is that it has to be, the intent has to be to improve the education system and bring it to the 21st century. Thank you very much for asking me to make my comments.
How do you want to go, Vikas? Shall I?
Well, if you want to respond to some of these questions, you do that, and then we'll open it up for the second round.
So,
generally, we go up to 8:30, but we'll extend a little bit. So I mean, you respond, and then we'll take a little more.
Very, very important. As you know, that the dimensions of providing education in India is so complex. So obviously there are multiple issues. The issues are not small in number. They are highly complex. India is such a diverse country in multiple languages. So I think, Vikas, thank you very much for reminding me that we did do substantial research to recommend that the universities can compute a diversity index. So what went behind, this is very important for the listeners, what went behind that recommendation in such a committee was a simple fact. What is that simple fact? Education particularly has to be given in the local area. In fact, as I told you, the early effort was to provide school in a walkable distance, because the transportation itself in the early period was very difficult. Long distances excluded many people. So you have to take the school closer to the residential areas and the communities where they lived, in the villages and so on and so forth. So one thing which came out from my demographic mind was, if we are talking of a government school or a high school in a taluka, the social composition of the students in a high school should be approximately equal to the social composition of the population of that taluka. You know, if let us say scheduled caste form 20% of that taluka, in the primary schools and the high school, there should be 20% of children approximately. You know, I'm not talking of precise numbers here. Now, similarly, if Muslims constitute about 10% of that population, in the schools, they should form about 10% of the population. Now, to conceive this kind of diversity, you don't need any reservation. What you need, because primary education is a basic right, every child has to go to the school. So there is no scope for reserving certain seats for people. Although I know infrastructure was created based on some reservation principles. I'm not going to talk about that at the moment, but definitely enrollments and continuation rates should reflect the population share in the local area. And that is the concept we took it to the university also. And now almost every district has a university. So if you take the total university population, students population, and structure them in some sort of social identities, that should by and large reflect the social identity of the population over there. And that is why I said the overall reservation policy, although SC/ST reservation, I'm totally for it, and SC/ST reservation in education in all spheres of life is a must. But this government brought 10% reservation for what is called economically weaker section. Then recently, just about 2-3 weeks ago, I published a book review where I have brought this issue out, that Muslims must have a 45% reservation within the economically weaker section quota, which is 10%, over and above, I think 49% total quota we have already. The 10% economically weaker section quota, and the Muslims have a 45% share in it. So Muslims are the one who are totally excluded from the quota system. Although in UP and Bihar, there are some element of OBCs which we see, but that share during the Sachar committee we work out, that was only about 2% of the Muslims who are accessible, whereas that should be closer to 10% within that system. Quota system in a way is distortory. It excludes many deserving people from out of good quality education. But this diversity index, the earlier government, Professor Amitabh Kundu, a very well-known professor from JNU, was requested to chair a committee to bring a diversity index report. And in fact, he recommended as to how to compute this diversity index. He is an econometrician and a statistician, and that report is available, and I request Vikas to take a note of that report, and if necessary, I will be available to have a separate discussion sometime for exclusive group as to how can we promote diversity index, at least in the state level universities, in high schools, and in colleges in the local area, if not in Indian Institute of Management and IITs, kind of centralized universities. Now, with that done, the another issue about centralization, which Professor Hargopal also mentioned, is the real ticklish issue. You know, how can a centralized committee, which has already decided as to what curriculum should be given to Anganwadi? Now, I am amazed to find out that Anganwadi center curriculum is prepared by a centralized committee. It's sitting in Delhi. It should be prepared by the district heroes, the district stories. We should promote documentation of the history of that particular document through through these education processes, it is very, I think the state governments must make a fight that importing what education, what languages, and how and what content, particularly in early education. The state government should fight with the central government, and they should resist to use a common curriculum sometime which can be disastrous for appreciating diversity within the country. Can a centralized committee work for decentralization? I think it should. The centralized committee must work for decentralization. So that is my approach. Whether they do it or not, I don't know, but we should persist, and we should make a case. We should engage that committee, and then we should work for decentralization of education. Now, I was shocked to find out, because I was not following it up, the process of education policy. So is it already accepted? I thought this policy is open for debate now, and this is going through a process. But Hargopal Sahab mentioned कि ये नहीं है, इसका discussion नहीं हुआ है, debates नहीं हुए हैं, subcommittee में नहीं गई है. Thus, that is a very serious issue. I think it should get into these processes. Central government should not circumvent, should not directly accept this without consulting the state, without consulting the experts, without going through working committees, without going through the parliamentary committees. This is a very, very important nation-building document, and it must go through that procedure. Maybe through this gathering, we should write a very influential article, op-ed, and publish requesting government to ensure that a much more debate takes place, and many areas which are not covered into this must be taken care of, and we should resist the centralization procedure. Now, the issue of privatization. Now, globalization is not privatization. Now, globalization is also, for me, not the foreign education coming to India. That is just foreign universities coming to India. Globalization here means it is the language through which we teach our children what the world looks like. The document says we should know how the India looks like. What are the Indian ethos? What are our Indian past? What are the invention India has made? Of course, we need to document that. I should be proud to do that. Every person should do it. I have no second opinion about it. But hopefully they do that, not only ancient India, but also medieval India, and also British India, and also the modern India. It should be done for different phases. You cannot just do for ancient India and forget the medieval period and forget the British period, and you cannot do that. But globalization here means you teach our children how Japan looks like. How did Japan reconstructed after devastation of the Second World War? There are stories to be told, they learned from foreign nations. How did, for example, South Korea, within a short period of about 30 years, within one generation, 2 generations, South Korea became the first world country. How could that happen? What are the educational system they followed? What are the the local knowledge? How did they integrate into the globalized system? There are many countries, which throw out these opportunities for we people to learn. If we don't teach that, then अगर हिंदी में मैं कहूँ तो हम एक कुएं के एक वो जो मेंढक जैसे बन जाएंगे. ये इस नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में उस तरह के मेंढक बनने के लिए पूरे अवकाश बनाए गए हैं. तो इसके ऊपर आप तवज्जो दें. ये मैंने कहा इंटेंट ये था कि एक एजुकेशन पॉलिसी बन रही है, सिर्फ उतना ही इंटेंट है जो सही है, मगर बाकी का जो भी इसमें आदेश दिए गए हैं, यानी डायमेंशन से डायरेक्शंस दिए गए हैं, ये सब ड्यूअलिज्म को प्रमोट करते हैं, कम्युनिटीज को डिवाइड करते हैं। और मैंने एक पेपर लिखा है, यू कैन ऑल डाउनलोड, आई हैव कंप्यूटेड एंड आई हैव पब्लिश एन op-ed in the Hindu where I have shown that Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, I think to some extent Rajasthan, इन स्टेट्स में हिंदी का प्रचार बहुत हुआ है और होना भी चाहिए। मैं ये नहीं कहता कि हिंदी नहीं पढ़ना है, मगर हिंदी एज ए मीडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन हायर एजुकेशन पढ़ रहे हैं बच्चे, उन बच्चों को कहीं का नौकरी नहीं मिल रही है। और जो हमने डेटा एनालाइज किया उसमें ये पता लगा कि जो इंग्लिश पढ़ के जॉब्स पे जाते हैं और जो हिंदी पढ़ के जॉब्स पे जाते हैं, वर्नाक्युलर पढ़ के जो जॉब्स पे जाते हैं, जो इंग्लिश पढ़ के जॉब्स पे जाते हैं, उनकी एवरेज तनख्वाह, उनकी एवरेज इनकम, उनका डेली वेजेस 60% हायर है हमारे देश में, हमारे ही स्टेटों में। और हम बोल रहे हैं कि हम इंग्लिश एजुकेशन नहीं देंगे, और इंग्लिश एजुकेशन देंगे तो भी हम कभी देंगे 5th स्टैंडर्ड या हाई स्कूल में जाके आप इंग्लिश पढ़ें। नहीं, इंग्लिश को आप, इंग्लिश फॉरेन भाषा होगी मगर इंग्लिश तो भाषा है। इंग्लिश भाषा में आप कोई भी चीज, कोई भी संस्कार पढ़ा सकते हैं। कई लोग कह रहे थे कि जब मैं अमेरिका का, मैं माइग्रेट हो गया हूँ, अभी मेरी फैमिली वहां रहती है, तो वो पढ़े कि ये मुसलमान है, ये वहां जाके नमाज पढ़ना छोड़ देगा। मगर मैंने देखा कि अमेरिका में गए हिंदू भाई, अमेरिका में गए सिख भाई, अमेरिका में जो मुस्लिम भाई हैं, दे आर मोर रिलीजियस देन द सेम कम्युनिटी विद इन इंडिया, और इस्लाम साहब विल टेल दैट। तो ये इंग्लिश भाषा या इंग्लिश कल्चर में चले जाने से हम कोई अपने संस्कार भूलने वाले नहीं हैं। हमारा संस्कार उतने बिचौले नहीं हैं, उतने वीक नहीं है कि सिर्फ ये दूसरे कंट्री में जाने से या कोई दूसरी भाषा बोलने से हम हमारे संस्कार भूल जाएंगे। तो ये गलत फहमी है। तो इसीलिए जब तक हम इंग्लिश को प्रोत्साहन नहीं करेंगे, ग्लोबलाइज्ड एजुकेशन को हम नहीं परखेंगे, नहीं समझेंगे, सिर्फ अपने देश की ही एजुकेशन या उनके संस्कार या उनके आविष्कार वो जो हैं, तो उसके अंदर हम संतुष्ट हैं, तो हम एक कुएं के मेंढक जरूर बनेंगे। प्लीज ओपन अप फॉर न्यू क्वेश्चंस।
Yes, Suhas, would you like to come in, or Indrani ji, Suhas, others? So Jagmohan, in case there's some question which is worth reading from the Facebook, you can read, I think, today. Yes.
Can I come in?
Yeah, please.
अबू साले जी, मैंने आपको प्राइवेटली चैट में जो पूछा था, मैं इधर पूछ रही कि मेरा ये बहुत इच्छा है कि सरकार तो कई लोगों की पॉलिसी नहीं बनाती है, तो हम पीपल्स पॉलिसी बनाएं, और उसके लिए हम आपसे अपेक्षा करेंगे कि माइनॉरिटीज के जो नजरिए से आपने बातें रखी, उसका हमें कुछ कंटेंट आप दे। पता नहीं वो कितना मटेरियलाइज होगा, लेकिन मेरी ये बहुत इच्छा है, हम कम से कम हमारे खुद के लिए तो एक ऐसा एक्सरसाइज करें, जैसे हमारे नॉर्थ ईस्ट के साथी ने भी प्रेजेंट किया था। तो उससे कम से कम जनता को तो पता चलेगा कि हमारी कितनी डाइवर्सिटी और प्लुरलिटी है। एंड जो हम बात कर रहे हैं कि एजुकेशन इतना सेंट्रलाइज हो ही नहीं सकता। मैं खुद बाहर भी रही हूँ और यहाँ के गांव में भी, आदिवासियों में जाके भी रही हूँ। तो मुझे एक कहना है कि ये पॉलिसी में जो बात रखी है, ये बहुत कंफ्यूजन के लिए रखी है। इनके ट्राइबल्स के बारे में की बात, ये कई ट्राइबल्स के लिए नहीं है। कुछ जगह उन्होंने ट्राइबल्स को पूरा सैफ्रनाइज किया है, और वो वनवासी आश्रम करके जो चलाते हैं, वो नॉर्थ ईस्ट से लेके महाराष्ट्र के ट्राइबल एरिया में भी उस प्रकार की वो बहुत कंफ्यूजिंग है। उसमें कोई they have no concern for any of the minorities, any of the deprived people. their entire emphasis is just for corporatization and destroying the Indian constitution, the secular fabric of our country, and trying to endanger the federal structure. They had circulated a draft national policy in 2019, which was of 480 pages. The entire country first demanded that it cannot be just in English and Hindi, it should be translated into local languages, which eventually they just did a summary of it. And they have not put in public domain all the comments that we all had sent, and just that summary with additional promotion of online education, they pushed through without any discussions, as Hargopal ji said. And they have already started sending letters to different officers in different states without even sending it through proper channel, without even sending anything to the chief ministers also. So it is not a policy at all being consented. It is just being imposed, and we all have to fight to stop this nonsense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody would like to come in?
Yeah.
I think Indrani Datta ji is back.
You want me to do quick comments to this, or how do you want to go?
Okay, you please.
Yeah,
Because she
नहीं,
lost and then yeah.
ये जो minorities का issue बताया है, I have a very different take on the minority, particularly Muslim community. You know, me being a Muslim myself, born in a rural area in Karnataka, I am against creating separate schools for Muslims. For example, my education was in a Urdu school, primary school, all Muslim children. But somehow my father, who himself was a teacher, he had a vision. He said, नहीं, ये लड़का सिर्फ उर्दू पढ़ेगा, तो ये शायद आगे जाके कुछ बन नहीं पाएगा. So being a Urdu teacher, he kicked me up very early in the morning, और बगल के 1 किलोमीटर दूर जो कन्नड़ा primary school थी, he also sent me to Kannada primary school. So I did 2 primary schools. That is one in Kannada and one in Urdu. And then around the 4th standard, English पढ़ने लगा था मैंने. And all this is in government schools. तो मेरा विचार minorities के लिए ये है, और मैं विनती करता हूँ minorities के लिए कि अपने बच्चों को गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में भेजिए, जहां वो हिंदू बच्चों के साथ बैठ के पढ़ें. जब तक हम ये दिशा में कम्युनिटीज को नहीं जोड़ेंगे, अर्ली पीरियड में हम हिंदू मुसलमान बच्चों को साथ में नहीं पढ़ाएंगे, हमारा डिवाइड और विस्तार से बढ़ता जाएगा. मुझे मालूम है कि माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशन बनाते हैं, उसके अंदर थोड़ा इस्लामिक एजुकेशन देते हैं, उसके बाद कुछ फिर मदरसे बना देते हैं, और वहां पे जो बच्चे यंग एज में सिर्फ मुस्लिम बच्चे मुसलमान बच्चों के ही बीच में पढ़ते हैं. ये एनवायरनमेंट ना मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लिए ठीक है, ना हमारी सोसाइटी के लिए ठीक है. तो मैं समझता हूं कि हम मुसलमानों को फाइट करना चाहिए कि लोकल इंस्टीट्यूशन जो हमारे हैं, प्राइवेट हो पब्लिक हो, उसी में हमको दाखिला लेना है. अगर मुस्लिम माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस भी बना रहे हैं तो उसमें सबको सिर्फ मुस्लिम्स के लिए नहीं, सबको सबको एडमिशन चाहिए. स्कूल ही एक ऐसी जगह है जहां पे प्यार मोहब्बत अमिटी बच्चों के बीच में बन सकती है. तो broadly ये मेरा direction है. I'm sorry, I had to go and drink some water. तो तब तक questions लीजिए.
So if I may just intervene here, if you allow me to do that.
Yeah, you do that, but just one the clarification I want to make, and I think Professor Saleh would like it rather, that you are not expressing a different opinion. This is precisely our opinion, that everyone should go to a common school. AFRT's movement is basically for common school system as recommended by Kothari Commission. That is precisely the struggle that we are trying to build across the country. At the same time, I mean, you would also agree that it cannot be allowed that, you know, what is happening, for example, Professor Indrani Datta would have shared more details with you, you know, the way in which they are, you know, dealing with the madrasas differently from the way dealing with the Sanskrit tools, you know, in Assam. Like, that discrimination should not happen. You know, it's like, we want everybody to go to schools, but to the same school, but we don't want a situation wherein they target the Muslim minority institutions while preserve, you know, the other minority institutions or other institutions of the vested class interests. You know, everyone should go to the same school, whether not just of all religions, but also of all classes.
So because I agree with you, what you said just now, but I was going to comment on what Dr. Sharif said. I've been the product of a school system in India, in Uttar Pradesh, another state in the north, which is Hindi belt. But I have to tell you, when I was going to school, I went to regular government school, I think my perspective about India was that we are as one society, we are going to go into the 21st century with the education system, which the Nehru and Gandhi and all the founding fathers of India had envisioned. I think what we want to do here is don't have a 200 million or so Muslims ignored. India's rise into 21st century as a superpower cannot have a marginalized community which is lagging behind. We're only 4%. We are about 15, 16% population. Only 4% of Muslims end up getting university education. And I just want to give you my personal example. When it came to time at the 9th grade, whether I should take a subject, art subject or science background, rather than taking Urdu as a language, I took art, industrial art design instead of Urdu. My Urdu teacher was very upset. Some of my neighbors in our community complained to my father, but I stayed and guess what, where I ended up as the highest ranking Indian in the US government in the Clinton administration, Obama administration. So I think we have to have a very broad vision for all the majority and minority communities. So Dr. Abu Saleh, I want to expand on your something you said about the quota system, and because I think the professor also asked question to amplify what you meant. You had some concerns about the quota system because deserving meritorious students were not getting their fair share.
Yeah, no, see, if you take the structure of the quota system in India, the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, they are given a quota in education and also in public employment, exactly equivalent to their population share. So that together is about, I think, 17 plus 8%, around 24, 25%, I think their population share. And in the quota system, they have that much of share. And then the remaining population, which are Hindus, because Muslims are excluded from the scheduled caste. So if you are a Muslim, you cannot declare yourself a scheduled caste in the census and in the government records. There is some provision that you can declare yourself a scheduled tribe. But there are very few scheduled tribes. But a lot of Muslims are scheduled caste like. So in Bihar, they call it Mahadalit type, etc., etc. But normally 60% of the Muslims in the government records are categorized as the excluded from the reservation system, whereas only 20% of the Hindus are excluded. Muslims, 60% of them are excluded. They don't qualify for any quota system. Whereas among the Hindus, only 20-25% of the Hindus are excluded. If are a high caste like Brahmins, but OBCs, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes all together formulate about 75% of the total Hindu population, who all have some amount of quota system. I myself is personally against quota system. I don't want quota. I never came out of the quota structure. But quota structure is already given, but that quota excludes 60% of the Muslims. They don't qualify. So that is where the exclusion of the Muslims is only Muslims. Christians and Sikhs, their share in government, their share in colleges, their share in is very high, much more than their population share. Sikhs are about 2%. Probably in the government there will be 5 to 6%. Christians are about 3%, but in public employment and higher education, they may be probably 8 to 9%. Muslims, which are 15%, their share in is about 4%, 3%, 4%. I have not seen 5% in excepting 1 or 2 states. So the issue is now this government, BJP government, created a new category of quota, which is not challenged yet. Supreme Court did not stop it, called economically weaker section quota of 10%. Now, when I do the calculation, who qualify to be part of this new quota, the Muslims qualify for 45% share, that is 4.5% of the 10% quota. That is the 45% share must be earmarked within that quota to the Muslim community, because they are not only excluded from other quota system, but they are also very poor and deprived. Their poverty is very deep. So this quota system is so articulated and implemented that Muslims are excluded from any benefit at all. So that was the point.
Mr. Saleh, this what you are at one level saying is about the problems in the present structure of the quota system in the way it excludes particularly Muslims, and that point is of course well taken. On the other hand, the point that, as I said, you're picking personally or against the quota system is an absolutely different kind of an issue, that requires a proper discussion. The only small thing that I think I would like to say now, and then perhaps we can invite you again for further discussion, is that there are 2 or 3 myths. One, that because of quota system, many deserving candidates are left out. They are left out because of a variety of reasons. Quota system, and since you are a statistician, has remained by and large unimplemented. There is still a huge backlog in every university, every department. and also that the concept of deserving is based on the notion of merit. The educationist, the sociologist of education or knowledge, have demonstrated immensely that even the concept of merit is a social construct. Today, if you speak in a certain style, in a certain language, which is generally a result of your social location and exposure, and the kind of questions that are asked in the exam, that determines what is meritorious. I mean, like, you will consider the invention of bulb as an invention. This is what Kancha Elia taught us, but the discovery of soap is nowhere to be considered as a valid question. So I think that is what I'm saying, that we have had in past longish discussion on those issues. So I think there needs to be a little more dialogue amongst ourselves in some future webinar. But for the simple reason that now it's already beyond 8:45, I would really request the chairperson, Professor Jagmohan Singh, to present a vote of thanks to close this today's interesting discussion. Thank you. Over to Professor Jagmohan.
Thank you, Vikasji. There is few comments on the Facebook. Sudhir Pranjay from School of Social Sciences, Mumbai, has commented that one is appreciated कि बहुत व्यापक और सही प्रबोधन वाला लेक्चर था, और फिर उन्होंने लिखा है कि there is a price tag of 40 billion on education, और COVID जो है, this is being used to virtually मतलब टिकाने लगाने के लिए होगा, ये अनुमान भी सही है. तो उन्होंने काफी अच्छे कमेंट दिए हैं. हमारे पास जोगा सिंह विर्क हैं, एजुकेशन मतलब वो हमारे, और उन्होंने कहा है कि this document is only cabinet approved and is available only in 2 languages, Hindi and English.
Very bad
and
Hindi.
I'm just remembered the other day, government said they have got the translation, but they cannot share because that will create confusion, because they are so confused about it also, that the document comes after that and the presentation to the press is different, the document is different. So actually आपने कहा कि the intent itself is doubt, that what do they want, and when the Prime Minister says this is already adopted, it's a public document, so it doesn't need anybody's approval, क्योंकि हमने अपनी public से, नागपुर से इसकी approval ले ली है. It comes to in a colloquial value that way. So this is very interesting, and particularly the concern which you had, the dualism leading to an educational trap in 21st century, is actually very appropriate thing which is there. The other part is that let us forget about the reservation system, because when our Prime Minister was Chief Minister, he was denying whatever scholarships were being available to minorities. I heard him saying, I will not give this minority scholarship because they are not as per our requirement. And now he is virtually closing down even that concession. So that debate of quota itself is one of their arguments. They excite the people on the quota system. That is why it is a very sensitive issue. But at the same time, we are definitely concerned that what alternative education system should be there, or what alternative, and that is why on this 26th November, the Constitution Day, we are more concerned about reclaiming the social justice, because it is not only education is one tool which provides the social justice. we are very much, as you said, we are concerned about that minorities and I was actually very happy to read your one paper because I just went on your website and found the productivity level which you have compared with education and then distributor is wonderful. We will definitely take advantage of that. What type of society you want, you add lot of productivity. And I first I found that there is such a beautiful way you have analyzed it, that this is, and then also another thing which I appreciated was that there are two technologies, the traditional technologies and the modern technologies.
Modern technology, yes.
Participation in the modern technologies will take place. So that way, I think interesting and it is resolved, and there are always things to be talked about and discussed, and we are always ready for that. That is why we are holding these seminars. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there is one more article there called Inter-Regional and Intergenerational Differences in Education. There is one more paper. So please read that paper also.
Sure. I think that's very, we'll share also. I've downloaded that and we will share that with our others so that we get exactly, we know what the process is and what the process is coming. And to me personally, because I am a student of and decolonization process of the whole freedom struggle from 1857 and even 1757 to 1947 and onward, because of my social duty of understanding Bhagat Singh. So I have understood a lot of the things in that. And what I find is that the whole struggle was establishing a social justice society. Because after post Second World War, we started with the human right era. And in 21st century is a century of social justice. And until we talk about social justice and try to reclaim social justice, this uniform, that mono culture they are trying to impose in name of Hindutva and other things cannot be neutralized. So that is, so thank you very much for generating such a good discussion, and discussion is always very healthy. And we are especially thankful to Aslam Siddiqui ji for joining with all his rich experience from America and sharing his experiences. We would sometime like that if he can give time and his experiences could also be shared. Sometimes it is very interesting. So thank you very much, and thank you to the discussion. And Professor Hargopal is one of our senior member of the All India Forum for Right to Education. So we have concerned people, and we are very right, and that's what the main slogan of the All India Forum for Right to Education is: the common school, neighborhood school. That
neighborhood
means
school.
that is, you said, our all whole experiences, and that is where the crux of our social justice starts, and education as a tool of social justice becomes. And you are very right. Actually, you start thinking in your language, but then you can convert yourself to internationalize. So we have a lot of experience that people never went to school, but they have a perfect globalized language also, but they had a master of thinking in their own language also. So thank you very much, Sulaji or Islam ji in particular, and to everybody. So thank you very much for giving us time, and we will wait for your input and that effort of rebuilding a model of an alternative education system, which we can advise people, because now people have to take their own initiative at their village level, at their mohalla level, and that will be one of the things. So we will continue the discussion, and we'll have the privilege of your expertise and all your experience with us. Thank you very much to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir,